Welcome to Like and Subscribe Kitchen. I'm Josh. When teaching knife skills, I like to start with onions and potatoes because onions and potatoes are cheap and they can go into lots of different things, making them great to practice on. A potato can be cut into any shape you can imagine, and I've worked for some very imaginative chefs. And I've often wondered how many hours of my life have been spent cutting onions in professional kitchens or at home. Months, maybe a year in aggregate by now, who knows, but this is the most common thing that I cut in a kitchen. So let me show you how I do it. To start, you want a clean and stable cutting board. If yours moves around a lot, you can always throw a damp paper towel underneath. Very bad habit a lot of cooks have is as they're cutting, they'll accumulate all of the cut product on the board. When you're done with something, move it out of your cutting area. To help keep the board clear, I often have a small bowl just next to the board that all the scraps will go into, so the onion peels as I'm working so that I'm not cluttering up my board with waste. Next, to grip the knife, I choke up on the blade. That gives you better knife control. It might feel better to put your index finger out like that, but ultimately you're putting strain on this part of your wrist. It's much better, it's a safer, more solid grip. You get more control over your knife. Always, no matter what you're cutting, the most important thing, if you can, is to give yourself a flat side. First, you want to cut that top side off, and then, because every time you can, you want to give yourself a flat side, there's a flat side right there. So we'll use that, cut down straight through the root, and it's now much easier to peel the skin off half an onion than it is trying a whole onion. I also usually take that outermost layer in just because it doesn't cook down as nicely as the inside layers. And again, a little bowl to throw the scraps into. We can move that one to the side up there, clear this one off. This is Knife Skills 1, so I'm not going to show you some of the fancier cuts one can do with an onion, but these are the most useful. So I'll start with slicing an onion. The simplest, easiest way to do it is a simple cut across. Every time my knife is coming back up against this knuckle and my fingers are curled so there's no way to come in contact with that blade, and it's just a repeated, slow movement of my fingers on that side. When you get to the spot where it's hard to hold on to it again, just turn it over. So there, simplest way to easily cut an onion. Now for the other half, I'm still going to slice it, but I'm going to slice it the other direction. I don't want that root there, so I've taken it off, and we're going to go this way. Maybe slow down for that last cut or two just to make sure you're not cutting through your fingers there. The way the cell walls are formed in the onion, this onion will cook better, this one will break down more and become mushier. So I'll use this cut for raw purposes, if I'm putting it onto a salad or raw onto a sandwich. But when I'm making caramelized onions, this is the cut that I want because the end product turns out better. Now I will dice an onion. So again, start by cutting that top off and in half. When dicing, we're first going to want to make our horizontal cuts, and then we'll come back and cut across it. So, very carefully. The size of the dice depends on how far back you're moving, in my case, my left hand. Now here for the last one, you might want to try to hold that together a little bit better. And then you just come back across. Give yourself a flatter edge because that's then easier to work down. And there is a nice, fairly regular dice. When I'm cooking onion, this is generally the size that I cut it. Now for the potatoes. There are a number of ways you could cut a potato, but here are a few of the most common ones that I do. I always start with getting myself a flat edge if I can, cut that in half, and then make bite-sized chunks. I think those are a good, bite-sized. They're all about the same size, except for those couple at the end, because nature rarely provides us with a true rectangle. Next, one that I like to cut are French fries, and there are kind of two ways to do this. You can, of course, cut it in half and just go straight across, and you'll get these nice kind of steak fries. Lean it up on one edge. Be careful when you do this and try to go straight down, but you get two sides like that, and then of course the same cut, more of a French fry size. If you want to be fancy or just practice, and you don't want all these little irregular sized pieces, what you could do is square off your potato. But see how much waste that produces? But at the same time, this now, you can practice cutting any size you want. This, a classic matchstick size, and from there, that cut is a brunoise. Again, potatoes are a really good just practice medium to get your knife cuts nice and regular like that. One last piece of advice that I always give beginning cooks when teaching them knife skills is it's always easier to go from accuracy to speed than to try to do it as quickly as you can and work to accuracy from that. Now sure, that might make a bigger difference in a professional kitchen where seconds count, but again, it's really just the non-cutting hand deciding how big that piece is going to be. Thank you for watching. If you learned something today, hit that like button and subscribe to see all of our latest videos.